Its state sport is jousting. It has the only flag based on English heraldry, the coat of arms for the Calvert family, and is where the six-pack was invented for beers, not abs.
It's the birthplace of comedian Lewis Black, musician Frank Zappa, and author Tom Clancy. Speaking of authors, it's got a football team that's named after an Edgar Allan Poe poem. And the Raven said, nevermore.
You're listening to Queer Money episode 445, and today we're sharing the most affordable LGBTQ plus friendly city in Maryland. Now on with the show. The mission of Queer Money is to financially empower the LGBTQ plus community. Join us in thanking Capital One for supporting that mission. Welcome back to all of you who are rejoining us, and welcome to all of you new folks. We are continuing our Queer Cities series. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can catch the whole series up here. If you're listening, click that link in your podcast player for the whole LGBTQ plus friendly cities in the country.
Last week, we visited the very gay and very friendly great state of Massachusetts. YouTube viewers can watch that particular episode right here, or if you're listening in your podcast player, click the link in your podcast player. We also have some more podcast love. We got this love message from Erod, not to be confused with A-Rod, though we would take either. Very important that your podcast brought this, our Black Wall Street episode, up on episode number 249 to our LGBTQ plus community. We need to understand how people of color have been and continue to be marginalized in America. So bravo. Thank you. If you're inclined to give the Queer Money podcast a rating and review on your favorite podcast player, we would love that. And if you're watching on YouTube on this channel, you can simply do that on this YouTube channel.
So Maryland, that's the state we're covering today. Maryland is another state that has great inclusion when it comes to the LGBT community. Exactly. Let's applaud Maryland. 6 of the 10 cities that we analyzed were given a 100 by HRC's MEI index. Not quite as many as last week's episode for Massachusetts. They got 7, but Maryland is tied with Ohio for the second best so far with 6. Also, Equaldex.com ranks Maryland as the 12th most LGBTQ plus accepting state in the U.S. So, John, who is our runner-up city?
Our runner-up for Maryland is Frederick. Why? Well, I mean, probably guessed it, got a 100 on Human Rights Municipal Equality Index. Home values average $420,000 per property, which is slightly below the average for the state of Maryland. Rents average $1,890 per month for a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment, also just slightly below the average for Maryland. Cost of living is 109.1% of the national average. It's the 3rd best for the state of Maryland, and average income is $77,000. Median income is $66,000.
All right. Tired of all the credit card offers you get from your current credit scoring app? Download CreditWise by Capital One today to avoid them. Our winner is a city and a district. It is actually the District of Columbia. HRC includes the District of Columbia as a city in the state of Maryland when they are looking at their rankings. So our winner is the District of Columbia. Why? Well, it is one of the gayest places in America. Not only did it get a 100 on the HRC's MEI index, its home values come in at $456,000, which was right in the middle for the state. Its rents come in at $2,063 a month, right in the middle for the state. The cost of living, $118.3, right in the middle for the state. So far, we're hitting the middle of everything, right? So why is it the winner? Above average income. Average income comes in at $119,000, which was the best for Maryland. Median income, $94,000, best for the state of Maryland.
Maybe someday DC will be its own state.
Let's hope. So what if DC wasn't included in Maryland? Well, then a runner-up would have been Baltimore. Frederick would have won, and a runner-up would have been Baltimore. Why? Baltimore also got a 100 on the HRC MEI index. Its home values considerably lower at $179,000, which is the best in the state. And then its rents come in at $1,595 a month, second best in the state. Cost of living, 91.3, second best in the state. So if you can't afford DC and you can't afford Frederick, Baltimore is probably your option for the state of Maryland.
Exactly. So what are some great things about DC? Well, what's not great about DC? When I was a younger pup, I had such an amazing time. I still am not allowed to go back to DC without prior approval.
I hear stories.
So DC has the highest per capita number of LGBTQ plus people in the US. It's the home of some of the most iconic and beautiful and buildings and monuments. It's just phenomenal to see. A lot of great history to absorb there. It's got a huge LGBTQ plus life, bars, restaurants, clubs, shops, whatever, you name it, it's there. So if you ever get there, if you decide to move there, be sure to hit P Street, 17th Street, and DuPont Circle. And then, of course, Capital City Pride is every June, typically around the June 10th each year. So congratulations, Frederick and DC. Financial independence with a checking and savings account that doesn't nickel and dime you with fees. Get a Capital One 360 checking or 360 performance savings account at Capital One today.
On next Thursday's Queer Money bonus episode, we're covering the most affordable and gay-friendly city in the state of Maine.
If you'd like to see the results of all the cities in each state that we're analyzing, please go to queermoneypodcast.com/cities or click the link in your podcast player if you're listening on your podcast player device, or click the link here if you're watching on YouTube. Thank you and have an amazing weekend.